All right, have a seat. Sit on something to elevate your hips, a block, a cushion, pillows, bolsters, blankets. Something so your hips are a little higher. Cross the shins one in front of the other. Slide your feet forward a little bit so your feet are more underneath your knees. So your thighs lift. Press your hands into your thighs. Lift your spine up. Take a deep breath. So that lift, that inhale. Keep the lift of the inhale when you exhale. Let the shoulders go down, but keep the lifted rib cage, spine. Press your hands down again. Take another nice deep breath in. Feel the lift with the inhale. When you exhale, squeeze your back ribs towards each other, not forward, but in towards each other. Side ribs forward, front ribs up. So you create a very domed rib cage, not a backward bent spine, but you're engaging all sides of your rib cage, the back, the sides, and the front, to expand and lift. So you can take a little deeper breath. Chin lifted slightly. Let your eyes close. So as you keep the rib cage lifted, and you feel the lift of the energetic action it takes to keep the ribs lifted, let the eyelids be heavy. And go through and recognize in your body for just a moment, and start physically, and you're going to start from the top to the bottom, that if you keep your rib cage engaged and your feet flexed, your chin up, what out of every other part of you can start to let go? You don't have to shrug your shoulders up to keep your ribs up, so don't flex them down, but can you let go? And this is specific in its language. Our natural state can be relaxed, but it is a thing we must practice. If we push our shoulders down, that's another action we're taking. That's not relaxing. So as you work those three things, the head up, the ribs up, the feet flexed, what can you let go of in that position? Make it small. Can you relax the inner ear? Can you let the eyelids let go so they are heavy? You feel this energetic action of all the other parts, these three parts, but what's the other parts that you can just let go of so they do not engage? That your practice does not necessarily become about one of force, that every single thing you do in your practice or in your asana or even your pranayama or your service work becomes about how much more work you have to do. But how much can you let go of? Because you recognize you're already working hard. Hard in habits or things that might not benefit you. Keeping your shoulders shrugged up to your neck is not a benefit. The structure of the poses is there to give us insight on what other parts are doing also, not just the part that's stretching. But to recognize what else we're doing with ourselves that we may not need to do. Start from the top. Let there be heaviness in the eyelids. Let there be heaviness in the cheekbone, the cheek itself, the corners of the mouth. Let there be heaviness in your arms or your fingers. Let there be heaviness across the skin, the tongue. Find little spaces. You don't even have to know the anatomy. It doesn't matter if you know the technical names or even the metaphysical names. You could just imagine a spot on your body. Let it be soft. Let it be heavy. Supported by the discipline you're creating in this pose and the practice. And yoga is often called a practice. Not just the practice of yoga, but it's just once you're in, they often say the practice. But what are you practicing in your yoga? As you sit here, in the internal journaling moment, feeling you. Ultimately, the way Mr. Angar would say is this is where we want to end up, to be able to sit in ourselves, engage and let go of what we do and do not need, and be centered. I start with this at the beginning of class because I recognize that you come from a day of living a life. I do not know what you go through, only you do. And sometimes you may not even know what you went through. You get a back pain, you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, right? Something starts hurting. So before you begin this practice, can you let go of anything that does not serve you when you come to your mat, so that you don't keep practicing that habit as you go through your down dogs or whatever I have in store? Can you let your yoga practice be a practice of the things that you want for yourself, not just on the yoga mat, but off, of things letting go? Maybe of things healing, or the freedom just to be what you naturally are, what you naturally already can be, relaxed, happy. We didn't have to learn to be happy as children. We learned how to be unhappy. Now we go back. So what will you create in your practice, my friends, as you go through the poses and our time together? Bring the palms together at the chest. Let the thumbs touch the sternum. Chin still lifted, eyes closed. Take a nice deep breath in. We'll Om shortly 3 times and begin. Om. Om. Bow your head for a moment. Salute the essence of yoga inside yourself. If you don't know what that may be, you don't have your own personal prayer, rhythm, rhyme, limerick, song, idea, favorite poem, may I offer the thought that you flow in the ever-changing waters of life, that your life is never stuck, static, or stale. Bring your head down, bring your hands into your lap, head raised, eyes open. All right, so nice to see everybody. Thank you, Ian, for roaming along. Good boy. Right. He's very active. So let's go ahead and come to a standing position. Do a few standing poses to warm up the body. So as we've been going through classes the last few weeks, I've been asking you to do standing poses because one of the things that my teachers in the Iyengar tradition have taught is that you start with standing poses to warm the body up. Warming the body up does not just mean your body temperature, but also means how you engage certain muscles. With the weight of gravity on you, muscles have to flex differently. And this is important for when you go to forward folds, backward bends, or supine poses. So starting Tadasana, feet together, heels together. So we want to engage certain muscles so that when we go to those other poses where we have less gravity effect or it's changed, we can still feel and engage. The stuff we have going on in yoga, the awareness, not necessarily pain, but it is just that. We have to define the difference. Stretch both arms up, bring the palms together. Elbows straight as you can make them. And as you take a few nice deep breaths, kind of begin to feel what's going on in the lateral body here, right? Each pose is not about how much force do I put in it, but can I get enough of myself engaged that I can feel what's happening? And then the teacher, myself, might offer a thing or two to help you kind of draw your attention elsewhere. Remember, good yoga teachers don't give you the wisdom. We help you kind of discover it for yourself, because then you own it. It's not a gift. So squeeze the palms tight. Stretch your elbows, maybe a little. And here in the pose, just here in Urdhva Hastasana, as your arms are up, your palms are nice and together. What can you do to keep the thighs engaged, the back engaged, the arms engaged, and what can you let go of that's not this pose? Is the tongue on the roof of your mouth? Are you gripping your toes? Are you overworking one part more than the other? Because we all get into every single person gets into yoga wanting something. Health, balance, Zen, whatever. We start healthy. I've seen some pretty Zen babies. So just be aware of where you're trying to force something rather than work all parts equally. Can you squeeze your calves and thighs together about the same power? If not, just be aware. Can you stretch your front ribs and your back ribs up the same height? If not, back off of one till the other can engage. And you're working equally. Pushing one harder than the other is not going to get you there. And then, does one hand push into the other harder? Just because one does the most work doesn't mean it needs to continue to. Back off of it till the other one can catch up. And you start getting kind of the idea of the balance of this. Don't be afraid to look at your body, what you can see. Look down, look at your feet, look at your elbows. Mr. Iyengar had us practice with our eyes open to keep us engaged in it. It's easy to want to close your eyes. Just as some of you don't practice with a camera on, you don't practice with your ocular camera on, right? It's hard to see. It sometimes is emotionally challenging. All right, stretch both arms very wide, palms down, step your feet wide, and if you can, challenge yourself to step your heels underneath your hand or wrist. So you're in a nice wide stance. Don't be afraid to look. If you're not sure if your feet are under your hands, let's take a look. All right, so as you extend the arms out, extend the legs out in the same way. As you feel the flexion of your shoulders and the chest, flex your thighs. Flex your glute to stretch through your legs in the same action. And as you're stretching the top side of the arm and the bottom side of the arm, hopefully stretch the inside and outside of the leg. Keep those 4 extensions. Turn your right toes out. Bend your right knee for a moment, warrior 2. And re-extend. So even though the right knee is bent, can you still extend that right limb, that left limb, on both the arms and the legs? And now that you feel certain parts of each leg firing, because the legs are in asymmetry, they're not going to work exactly the same. Your left thigh and right thigh are not going to feel the same kind of work. But can you at least engage the left leg to feel some parts working, and what your left leg doesn't feel, does your right feel? So if your left thigh is not working, is your right thigh working? If your right glute is working, is your left not? Or both glutes unengaged? Can you flex one or both of them? So you feel one part burning on the right, check in with the others. Because if your right quad's burning, but you can't flex your left the same way, that's fine. What about your left calf? What about your left glute? Asymmetrical poses ask us to engage different parts to create openness and change. Straighten your right leg before you burn out. Turn your right toes in, turn your left toes out. I emphasize this idea, which it can be kind of challenging. Turn your left toes out, arms wide if you can. Because when you do supine or backward bends, the intensity or the easiness of it can make us disconnect. Bend the left knee. Did you extend the 4 limbs and then bend the knee? Hopefully. So left quad burns. That's the easy one, right? Warrior two. Ooh, or that right outer hip. Which glute, if not, but if you can flex both, great. But which glute doesn't want to flex? There you go. The left quad burns, the right quad's engaged. It may not burn the same, but can you flex your right calf to stretch your heel down? Woo. Can you lift both sides of your abdominal wall equally? If we were just standing with both legs wide like we started, all those parts should all be equal what's flexing. But here with asymmetry, you have to keep your focus of what symmetry was like and then how this changes it so you feel the effect of the pose. The pose doesn't really happen like just by hopping into it, but by starting with awareness, engaging into a deeper level, and then coming out. Come on out. Turn your right toes out. Turn your left toes in deeper towards the right. Place both hands on your hips as Tristan is demoing. It's like she read the script. Turn the right toes up. Come on. No, more. Okay, not that much. Right there. Rotate the left hips around towards the right. Said you got to turn those left toes in. So we're going from symmetry to another asymmetry. So from warrior two to warrior one. Rotate the left thigh. Just as your right thigh turned out, rotate your left thigh in. So however much your right quad worked, your right hip worked, don't just twist from your low back, but get that left hamstring to really move. Get that left thigh to pull around towards your right leg. There you go. Twist your navel around. Twist your back muscles when you twist your navel. And then bend the right knee. Because we are forward-facing creatures, both eyes are on the front, we don't have anything in the back, we tend to be drawn towards what we can see. So it's easy to look down and see your right thigh and focus on how hard it's working. But how hard is your left glute working? How hard is the stuff that you can't see working? You have to open the, that third eye, that internal eye, right? They say the third eye is the eye that sees the unseen. Well, you can't see your butt, you can't see your hamstring. So you have to kind of open that part of yourself and be aware of it. And can you engage them to some part of this pose? You've twisted your belly around, so can you twist your back muscles to help encourage it? Stretch both arms straight up for a moment. Flex your glutes. There you go. Straighten the leg, bring your body up, switch your sides. Left toes turned out, right toes turned in. So as your right toes are turned in, your left toes are turned out, start to already rotate your thighs. I've talked about this in past classes. Can you rotate the bases and feel the difference? Because this is asymmetry. How does this side stretch compared to the other? How does the left leg differ from the right leg? Right, your left quad's going to flex. Your right quad should try to flex. It may not burn the same, but can you engage other parts of the right leg to stable so the left can do its work? Just like your right leg is supporting your left supports your right. Isn't that sweet? Rotate your pelvis, rotate your navel, so everything to the left, and then engage the back side of the body that you can't see into it. Use the internal feeling, use your own sense of your space, yourself as space in the world. And then bend your left knee. Be aware of what shifted when you went to a deeper level of asymmetry. We know what changed on the front. You can see that, familiar with that. Feel what happened on the back, right? I would say you probably unflexed your right glute or your left one. You probably stopped rotating your right back muscles towards the front. Stretch both arms up. And again, just like when you were doing the pose from symmetry, when you're both Urdhva Hastasana, the very first or second pose we did, can you feel that here, how the asymmetry down below affects up top? Maybe it's easier to lift one arm more than the other, or back muscles are starting to get tired. Take it in. This is you. This is your work. This is the sacred beauty of it, is that you're in your process. Straighten your leg, arms down, turn your toes around, face the body forward. So you're back in symmetry, right? Toes are facing the same direction, legs are long, stretch both legs long. Take a moment now that you've introduced some asymmetry awareness, reset, extend through the legs, lift the front and back side of the body, extend the upper torso higher. Before you go to the next thing, always check in with yourself. Savasana is not the only moment where you check into what's going on. Turn your right toes out. Turn your left toes in. Rotate your pelvis around to the right. Same thing we just did in Warrior One. Bend the right knee again. Take both hands onto the floor next to your right foot. So you're in a lunge. One hand on each side of the foot, in case you're wondering. Your back heel is still trying to stay to the floor for right now. It may not, but you're still extending it because that takes that left glute, that left hamstring. You're still going for the length of that limb, even though it may not connect the same way. It doesn't lose that idea of making space and extension from the center trunk. The right leg is the same. Even though the knee is bent and there's an asymmetry, you're still extending that right leg, yeah? You don't just collapse into your own hip. Are you still extending your trunk like it was when it was upright? And even that, extending your limbs of your body from the center point, and even the trunk and the pelvis from the center point of that, right? That Kundalini space, if you want to get metaphysical, there's always about extension and space making. Good. Take both hands on the inside of your right foot. Your left heel may lift off the floor a little bit. This is not half moon, but your left heel may not stay on the floor. Place your right hand on your right knee. Stretch your spine, stretch your legs, keep the right knee bent, and push your right hand into the knee to twist. So you get a revolved variation of side angle. And now you're introducing even more asymmetry, but that doesn't mean you don't try to still create extension. The extension in the yoga poses, or the stretch, when you introduce asymmetry, is what actually starts to create a lot of the muscle changes and the rediscovery of things that we already naturally are, right? Most of us are born like flexible. But there's always some level of growth or expansion that takes place. Right? Start as babies, we get bigger. It was like Mr. Angar said, we're all novices in the world of yoga for the first 20 years. So enjoy all this time you have to expand and grow. So when you push your right hand into your knee, the last few seconds, and you stretch your shoulders away from each other. Can you rotate your ribs? Can you stretch your abdomen away from your hips? All right, untwist. Bring the chest back up, rotate back to start. Both feet wide, both toes pointing forward. Open the limbs. Just take this here, hands on your hip. If you can, or if you want to go like a little more intense, you can stretch your arms wide, your call. But can you extend all the limbs? Can you create space from the center points? Limbs from the core torso from that center self. Take a breath or two. Feel the difference that you got from each side, right? Every breath in between poses is like Mr. Angar would say, its own savasana. Turn your left toes out. Hands on the hips, rotate. Rotate that right thigh in, twist it, bring it in play. That's how you learn to get to to the more quote unquote advanced poses. If you're not watching the camera, I'm doing finger quotes. You get to do them when you get more awareness about how you're moving your body so you can practice them safely so you're not just flailing around. Bend your left knee, hands on the floor. Your right heel's still stretching. You're still going for that limb extension. I won't pontificate as much. I'll let you explore the pose more because the first time you do it, you learn. The second time, you really start to feel it. Both hands on the inside of your left foot. And each time we move, each time you make a change, maybe find somewhere that got tight, that closed off, whether physically, first times, emotionally, or mentally. Place your left hand on your left knee. Take a breath. Twist on the exhale, pushing the left hand into the knee. And can you extend the limbs? Even though like the left elbow is bent, can you still stretch that arm away from the shoulder, shoulder away from the neck, right shoulder away from left shoulder, torso away from hip, right leg away from hip. There you go. So even though you may not twist deeply, at no point did I say as the teacher, this is the main part of the pose. Recognize that maybe you have your own internal like measures for what you consider yoga or the work. And do those work for you? I have spent a whole lot of my life doing yoga, like being very judgmental about my yoga, and then I realized that was not me, but you know, expectations that weren't good for me, that I was taught. We all pick them up. So feel it for a few more seconds. Where can you make some space in the body? Where can you let go of stuff that's not helping you? Are you gripping your eyes, your jaw, your neck? Find some way to relax, release, so that you can find a little more energy, breath to be in this different thing. Untwist. Bring the body up. Untwist to face center again. Stretch your arms out for a moment. Find the extension. And don't be afraid to look at your body. After you even come out, stuff changes. So your perception of where your right foot, left foot might be different. You might have shifted on your mat. Don't be afraid to reset. Because just as, you know, you learn to play a music instrument, you take it slow, you really pay attention, you get faster as you get more awareness. Turn your right toes out. Both hands on your hips. Turn your left toes in, rotate towards the right again. Fold forward. You can put your hands on blocks, chairs, whatever you need if your hands can't reach the floor, but try to keep both legs long and take both hands to the floor, one hand on each side of your foot, chest to knee pose, Parshva. And then before you start twisting everything up, once your hands get to the floor, check in with the length. Are you extending the limbs first? Are you extending all the limbs first? Are you just letting all your body weight shrug into your shoulder arms? Your arms should be stretching away from you. So you're stable, so you can stretch your chest and heart out and then down. Is the left leg stretching and then rotating? Is your right leg stretching long and then rotating? Right, we started in the extended position, we added rotation, then we added fold. We added more asymmetry. Do you lose the extension when you add more asymmetry? Recreate it. Why there's a lot of sayings that are just kind of stuck around in yoga, and you know, they used to call them old hippie words, right? You got to make space in your body for what you want. Make space in your life for new things, right? It's not untrue. It's a philosophy that works. Take a breath. I think that's about it. Can your buttock muscles pinch the bones close together so you're stable to your center line like Tadasana? Ooh, different awareness. Flex those glutes. Those of you that remember in past classes, every cheek looks cuter with a dimple. So put some dimples in them. All right, bend the right knee, bring the body up, turn the body to center, right toes in. Stretch your arms out for a minute. Feel what's different. If this is the start point, what's different for you? Turn your left toes out. Turn your right toes in. Rotate the thighs. Engage your body to help the rotation. Ask your muscles to do it. Hands on the hips, stretch out. Find those long extensions. Add the fold. Different asymmetry. When your hands hit block, floor, chair, whatever you need so you can get into it and then safely explore it, be in the pose. Before you start twisting or jerking stuff around, check your extensions first. Are you stretching from your whole length of your leg down to your feet, front and back of the leg? Are you stretching the chest out away from the hips? Are you stretching the arms away from the center torso? And then you can add extra stuff. Then you really start to twist or move the body into it. Flex each buttock so it's pinning the bones closer together. Because even though it might think, oh, that's tightening, flexing it so you're stable allows a lot more internal stuff to work. You don't have to go down far, because if you're stretching your awareness across all of your body, the front that you can see and the back that you can't, it is a lot of physical work and exhaustion, not just for the stretch you're feeling, but for the amount of energy you spend on your focus, on disciplining that. Right. Take a breath. Bring the body up. Untwist. Toes pointed forward, both arms nice and wide. Just like we started. Extend through the limbs. Feel the difference now that you've warmed up the hips, you've warmed up the legs, you've moved and flexed the spine a little bit. Can you make space anywhere else that you couldn't before? And if you can anywhere, even if it's in your eyelids, my teacher would say, this was a successful practice already. So just take a moment and enjoy that. Even if it's in your attitude, you're like, I started class cranky, now I'm just trying to survive. Well, that's a step in the right direction. Right? All right, exhale, bring the arms down. Grab a belt, scarf, yoga strap, whatever you use. If you need one, if your hamstrings are tight, lay on your back. Come watch Tristan first. We're gonna do something different before we get to that. So Tristan's gonna lay on her right side facing the camera. So the reason that I had us do that particular practice with the thought of extending the limbs from the center line is that when we start doing supine poses, whether they're supine, leg extensions, arms extensions, backward bends, whatever, there's a tendency just to disconnect from extension and just let gravity compress us. Because that's what we do. We go to bed, we lay down, we just curl up. So Tristan's going to lay her right ribs to the floor and then her elbow on the floor and hold her head up in her hand. So your head is elevated slightly. This is to kind of keep your, that's fine. Yes, you are. You're slightly camera. Keep your head slightly more elevated your spine. If your head is not held up by your hand, lay your head on your arm. You're kind of in this weird down curve, and this will crick your neck after a while. That's why in Anatanasana, this part, kind of important. We're going to do this pose a few times, but there's a hard way and an easy way. The hard way is to have your legs straight. If you want to go be brave, go for it. But, you know, bend your bottom knee to start, just so your shin is a little more parallel. Like that. So that your knee is more in line with your hip, but your shin goes back to balancing. So watch Tristan for a moment. She's going to pull her top knee to her chest, put the strap around her foot, and hold her arm. So this is her left leg, her left hand holds her. She's not going to stretch the leg straight out and up because that will grip her groin. Anatanasana is done first by pulling the knee close, flex the thigh, and point your knee and toes up to the ceiling. So rotate the inner thigh up and then stretch the leg up. Let's see that again one more time because I know people aren't going to do it. Knee points forward. Yeah, people meaning her. She pushes her foot in the strap. Engage both sides of the leg. Rotate the thigh bone to point up. Flex the glutes. And then push up through it. Don't just stretch it on the knee, but push through that leg. The arm resists. So you can hold your big toe with your hand if you want, but you got to extend. This is not just about pushing this straight. It's about how much can the hamstring, the inner thigh, and your glute help extend the heel. All right, you have seen. Go do. I'm just going to leave Tristan here holding it. So laying on your right side, your head cradled in the right hand. So comfy. Left knee pulled to your chest. You either grab your left big toe with your left hand or a strap around the foot held in your left hand. The hand holds as close to the foot as you can on the strap because you want that left arm to ascend up. Rotate the bent knee, the top leg up. Rotate. Push the foot against the hand strap and extend up any degree. Woo. And now check in with your body. Even though you're laying down, right? Remember what I said? When you lay down, there's a tendency to unengage. What are your limbs doing? Even though your right knee is bent and laying on the ground, can you still extend the limb? Ooh. Even though your right arm is cradling your head, can you still extend the limb? Even though your left leg is extending, extend the limb. Left arm too. Flex your glutes so your pelvis draws away from your abdomen. Let your chest lift and then hold. Breathe into this. Look at you all so nonchalantly just chilling out in yoga class, all perfect yoga models. It's very cool. Nice job, Helena. Good. Phyllis, great. I'm going to compliment you even if I can't see you. Ashwini, Katie, Debbie. Don't worry, Shubi, you're doing good too. If I haven't said your name, just assume you're doing good. You know when you're not doing good is when you get out of the class, you get off your yoga mat. If you ever need a compliment, just imagine my voice and say whatever you want to yourself. I take no accountability for what you use my voice for. All right, bend your left knee, come out the same way. Good, good job, switch sides. We're gonna come back and do this pose a few times. There's a lot of neat stuff that can happen in this pose and you can learn, but it's nice just to start getting the movement. Because when you lay down in a supine position and then start flexing and extending, the change of gravity really changes how certain muscles can release and change. You get a lot of different effect.
Dustin, what do you do when you get a cramp, like right there?
What do I do for you? I'm happy for you. You practice more, like
Okay.
you live with it. Cramping is not bad. Cramping is good. It means a muscle's releasing or a muscle's stretching. Yeah, it's not a bad thing to stop. Thank you though, I appreciate it. See, I know she did that because she's a longtime student, so she misses the studio where I'd be like, all right, everyone together, I'm happy for you, right? It's just part of the fun. All right, right knee bent, left knee bent also, pull the right knee to your chest. Right arm goes onto the inside strap or hand, whatever you do. Rotate the thigh up. Push the leg against the hand so your leg extends, whatever it does. And it doesn't have to go perfect, but there's extension. Right? I asked for extension, not straightness. Extension can be anything in between, totally bent or bent the other way. So create extension in your leg. How you ask yourself to move is important. Right? And then extend all the limbs. Extend all of yourself. So even though you're laying on your left side, yeah, extend your left thigh, extend your left leg. Don't straighten the knee, just work the muscle. Open through the hip. Work the left arm. Open through the chest. Even though the right arm is being pulled up by the foot, that right arm extends with the foot. The neck away from the head, the neck away from the neck away from the chest. So you're opening up, and then take a breath or two in this, and then you go to the small spaces. This is a magnifying effect to what's going on in your body. Are you gripping elsewhere? Are you gripping in your eyes? You're gripping your head and heart. And using my own experience example, I would grip in my head when I didn't really want to listen to the teacher. I thought, I know how to do this better. It's not about better, it's about different. Gripping in the heart. I'm not open to feeling what I'm going through. I'm just doing it to get through it. Greatest teacher any of us has is our own self. When we learn to listen. And dogs. Dogs are great. Especially dogs that walk in front of cameras. It's awesome. Take a few breaths. Cats maybe. Flex the glutes so you engage the back side of the body and the front side of the body and see what changes. Can you engage the back side of your body to support and lift the extension? Exhale, come out. Go to your right side. So now you add to it. You go to the next, you create more extension. So you're now laying on your right side again. And now try to have your right leg straight instead of bent. So your heel, hip, and shoulder and elbow are in one straight line. Just if you were doing this, like right arms up into Tadasana, your hands, shoulders, hip, knee, and heel would all be in the same line. Look at your body here. Kind of use your eyes to judge. Is your elbow forward and your shoulder back? Can you kind of open all that up so you rotate that shoulder? Is your hip in line with your right shoulder? Probably not. You got to suck that right shoulder forward. Pull your right shoulder forward. That's it. It's going to feel funky. So start the extension here. Use the floor as you're teaching before you even worry about this leg going to the sky. What can you extend on your right side to be balanced? Because when that left leg goes up, if you're not balanced, you will fall. And luckily, you're only falling as far as the floor. So extend through that right leg, front and back side. Extend through the right arm, front and back side. Extend the right ribs. And then bend your left knee to your body. Pull it up. And go slow. Don't rush. You don't need to rush. We got all the time in the world. Grab your toe, strap, whatever, turn the thigh up. And just hold that for a minute. Oh, don't straighten the leg yet. Hold on. Wait for it. I'm not done. Rotate your thigh up. Rotate your knee up. Feel the muscles that have to flex. Arm on the inside of your leg, Caitlin. There you go. Good, Shuba. Push the foot into the hand without straightening the leg at all. Flex the glutes. Re-extend your leg that you're laying on. Keep that whole side you're laying on. So your focus is your balance and then anything that you can extend off of that, right? When you plant a garden, you don't just kind of throw the plant on the ground and go, you handle it. You prepare the soil, you prepare the base. So once you feel stable, you've got some extension, then extend upwards, grow up and out. Because if not, trust me, I've seen a lot of people fall out of this, and I fall out of it all the time because I'm just throwing my leg up. Different. And then check in once that extension has happened. What happened in your right leg, your right arm, your glutes? Are you using the back side of your body to help be stable and lift and keep open on all sides? Are you extending your left shoulder away from the right shoulder? Can you even extend your head away from the chest, which means back long? Now you're open. Right. What's in there? Are you holding tension, the tongue on the roof of your mouth, right? There's a reason I've said that for almost 2 decades now. Your inner ear, are there places that you can let go of that this pose is letting you see for a moment? So you make this an experience, that you might leave a better Yelp review about. Not about the class, but about your yoga pose. That's what we need is an app. My yoga pose, like Yoga Yelp. Totally will give Down Dog 3 out of 5 stars. Needs better parking. So even the bad jokes get to happen, right? Bend the knee, come down. Switch your sides up. Woo, a little different. So laying on your left side, whatever side you're on, just do the opposite. Take a moment and look. Line your heel, hip, shoulder, and elbow up as best you can. If you don't know where that is, use the edge of your yoga mat. Use the lines on your floor. Use a wall sometime. Put your back to a wall and do this. You'll find it's easier. It's very interesting. It's hard because the wall's not going to let you cheat. So once you're down, before you even start messing with your right knee, work your left leg, extend, flex it for extension, not just straightness, extension. Because muscles have to flex and that'll make your hip stable. Same for your left arm, chest, abdomen, neck, head. Bend your right knee to your chest, grab the leg, or grab the foot, I should say. And then don't straighten the leg, just rotate it up. See what you have, see what changes as you go through the motions. Where do you lose your extension? What wants to grip and hold tight when you start to move this part of your body? You will learn more slowly going through a pose and what you need to do to where your focus needs to be than it is jumping in the pose and then falling out and going, what did I do wrong? Rotate the thigh. Extend the legs, extend the torso. Right arm starts to extend, right leg extends. Let it rise. It may not go straight, no one cares. Well, you may care, but I don't. Flex your glutes. Make those buttocks work to help stabilize you. There you go, Juba, good job. For those of you that have neck issues, this is a really great pose where you can turn your head and hold the back of your head with your hand and use your hand just to teach the neck to move safely. Very useful for that. Extend. So being on the ground, yeah, it helps support you, but how do you use that support to continue your growth? Support does not mean you do less work. Support means that something or someone is helping you ascend a little bit higher or better in that moment. So you should check in deeper, not check out faster. Right? If anyone's ever given you help when you need it, you might feel really grateful, really encouraged, like you might really push to make no waste of it. Be grateful for the props, be grateful for the time you have, grateful for the mat and the floor, because they're helping you. So don't back off of their help. Bend the knee, bring the leg down. Lay on your stomach. So this is pretty, you don't need to see Tristan. This one's a pretty easy talk through. You might need your strap if you're very tight in the hip or knee, have it nearby. So laying on your stomach, you're gonna bend your left knee and bring your heel towards your glute as close as you can. You don't have to flex the foot, just flex the leg and bring the leg close. Take your left hand back and grab the top of your foot near the toes with your left hand. I would encourage you to test turning your head either direction and see where you get some awareness or maybe some release to the neck. Bend your left elbow so your left elbow begins to point towards the ceiling. The pointy part of the elbow goes up and pull the heel down towards your glute. So your left shoulder lifts a little bit and your left heel comes down towards your butt. Don't watch, do. You'll be all right, I promise. So as you pull that left heel down, again, here you are being supported by the floor. And even though I haven't mentioned it, can you take the lesson from the stuff we've done over the last 49 minutes? Can you extend all the other limbs? Can your right leg extend? Can your left leg extend even though it's being bent? So your left thigh extends away from the hip. Your right arm can be laying on the floor, but are you stretching the shoulders away from each other? Is your front torso lengthening? Can you find openness in spaces that there is nothing? Because as my teachers would say, you know, the pathway of yoga is about shining light in dark areas. And so can you use this opportunity to, you know, with the intensity of what you're feeling, to be awake now to see other parts? Let them relax, change, be engaged. They need to be. Good. Switch hands, switch feet. Right foot bends towards the body, or right knee bends, bring the foot to the body. Right hand grabs the foot. Bends the elbow. Pulls it in. Turn your head either way. Experiment with what you need to make space there. Usually, in my experience, if the head turns away from the arm, it's working. And breathe. Oh, grumpy puppy. Extend your left limbs, extend the front body, back body. Let your glutes help and extend the legs. How's it feel? All right, try for both hands, both feet. Bend your left knee in, bend your right knee in. One hand on each foot if you can. If not, do one for 10 seconds and then the other. Eventually, both will come into play, I promise. Bend your elbows a little so your shoulders pull up away from your neck. Extend your body, even though you're not going to straighten the legs. Extend your quads, flex your glutes to help extend the legs. So when you breathe, you almost feel like your whole body rises and falls. There's a pulsing to these backward bends that are supine to the floor. That comes from the rise and fall of the diaphragm and abdomen. You should breathe as best that you can, not just in your lungs, but through your stomach, up to your lungs and back down, because it's part of the massaging process that if you ever read any of the doctors that have done studies on yoga or Mr. Angar's work, there's a lot of talk about abdominal massage, organ tissue movement, stuff in there that comes from the deep breath. Now, there's one other little part to this. Keep the extensions you're doing. Lift your head and look up, and then push your hands down onto your feet. Your heels pull into your butt deeper. Pick your chest up any degree so that when you really breathe, you really feel the abdomen rise and fall. This is part of the abdominal strengthening work. You extend the front body, extend the legs. The shoulders extend, even though that they're bent. The shoulders extend away from each other in the neck. The center torso is widening and opening as the limbs extend out. And the more you breathe here, even if it's just your chest only your head comes up and your shoulders come up, but you feel the lift, the rise and fall of your breath, you are doing it. Now you're taking your practice to such a deeper internal layer, organs, muscle, bone, all that stuff. Well, it can feel uncomfortable. It is, no, bend those elbows and pull those heels down. That's a different pose. All right, take a breath. Exhale, come on out. Flip over on your back. You made it. Get your favorite pillow, blanket for your head, neck, thighs, legs. Support your knees if your back's tired. Get your favorite pet to cuddle if they'll come do it. That one's being indignant, so it's not. Lay in Savasana for a few moments. Give you the last few thoughts. And then you'll have your time. All right, my friends. Here you are. Being supported. There's a lot of language about being supported. Being supported by yoga, being supported by your teachers, being supported by your community, being supported by your props. I hear people more in tune to the language, being supported by the earth. What do you do with that support? It's not about shame. It's not about right or wrong, but recognize how you use that support. Because I, in my life, have been supported and not used it and felt shame, so I didn't take it anymore. I felt like it and I was a waste. Yoga taught me to be receptive to support. And how I'm using it. To take it and extend and explore and go farther than what I was. Because the earth is supporting me on my journey, friends supported me, teachers supported me, props supported me, so I could be where I am now. That connectedness may help, as it did me, recognize that I didn't have to earn that support, but I am just worthy of it. And that all things give it willingly. So, my friends, as you received support from this yoga practice, whether from me as your teacher, the yoga prop, your own determination to be here, recognize the support you've received to make space and discover about yourself. Because if we practice recognizing gratitude in new moments, it's, again, opening from the center space out. So with each deep breath in, slow breath out until I ring the bell. At least be supported by the earth and get the most out of this time that you can with its support. And rest and enjoy the fruits of your yogic practice. Slowly increase the depths of your breathing. Begin to awaken your body, opening, closing the hands, pointing, flexing the feet. When you're ready, bend the knees, roll to your right, take a nice deep breath in, carry the support with you, the chance to grow, the opportunity to recognize support you're receiving elsewhere in your life, so you always make the most of it. The practice of yoga, floor, friends, family, whatever. Slowly up you come. All right, until we meet again, namaste.